Doris Day answered the phone, and the terror in her son's voice froze her instantly. Terry Melcher was 27 years old, a successful music producer, but at that moment he sounded like a frightened child. "Mom," he said in a trembling voice, "I need you to turn on the television. The news. Sharon Tate. That house." When Doris turned on the television, what she saw would become the biggest nightmare of her life. And when she learned about her son's connection to these horrific events, America's sweetheart would never be the same again. Now I'm going to tell you the story Doris Day never told. The story of how her son's secret connection to Charles Manson led to history's most horrific murders and a mother's collapse when she discovered this truth. In the summer of 1968, Terry Melcher was one of Los Angeles' hottest music producers. He had worked on the Beach Boys' Pet Sounds album, and after his father, Martin Melcher's death, he was trying to stand on his own feet in the music world. Terry's house at 10,050 Cielo Drive in Benedict Canyon was paradise in the heart of Hollywood. This house was filled with the rich and famous. Parties, music sessions, the meeting point of Hollywood's young generation. Doris was proud of her son's success, but also worried. "Terry, there are too many people in that house," she would say on the phone. "You're not letting strangers into your home, are you?" "Don't worry, Mom," Terry would say each time. "I'm a careful kid. It's just music business." But what Terry called just music business was about to start a chain reaction that would forever change his life and his mother Doris's world. In the fall of 1968, Terry had heard about a new musician from a music manager on Sunset Strip. There was supposedly a man named Charles Manson who both wrote songs and made music. In the midst of the hippie movement, everyone was looking for new sounds. "This guy is different," Terry had told manager Dennis Wilson. "Very charismatic, very confident. His music isn't bad either." Dennis Wilson, the Beach Boys drummer, had met Manson before. He had even housed Manson and his family at his home for a while. But something had gone wrong. "Terry, stay away from this guy," Dennis had said in a phone conversation. "He's strange. Very strange." But Terry hadn't listened. As a successful young producer, he was in search of new talent, and Charles Manson, superficially, seemed like an interesting potential. The first meeting was planned as an innocent music discussion. In March 1969, Charles Manson came to Terry's house at 10,050 Cielo Drive. He had several young women with him, all flower children, all looking at him adoringly. When Terry opened the door, the man he saw was different from what he expected. Charles Manson was small-built, ordinary-looking, but his eyes were not ordinary at all. "Terry, right?" said Manson in a smiling but cold voice. "I'm Charlie. Let's talk about music." In that first meeting, Manson played his songs for Terry. The music wasn't bad, but it wasn't very special either. However, Manson's personality was strangely mesmerizing. "I love this house," said Manson as he examined every corner of the house. "This is a perfect place, peaceful, calm." Terry didn't know at the time, but Manson wasn't just examining the house for music, he was evaluating it for other plans. The meeting lasted 2 hours. Terry didn't reject Manson, but didn't make a deal either. "I'll think about it," he had said. As Manson left, he smiled and said, "Terry, this house has great energy. I'll be coming back here." In the following weeks, Manson began coming back constantly, sometimes uninvited, sometimes making excuses. Each time he had different girls with him. Terry was beginning to feel uncomfortable, but he didn't dare directly reject Manson. In Hollywood, the importance of not hurting everyone, not burning bridges, was paramount. "This guy is very strange," Terry told his friend Candace Bergen. "He keeps coming, acting like he owns the place." Strange things happened during Manson's visits. He would play with things in the house, walk around as if examining the house, constantly saying, "This house is perfect." Once Terry saw Manson walking around the house at night. When he asked Charlie, "What are you doing?" Manson smiled and said, "Just feeling the energy." Terry didn't understand at the time, but Manson was scouting the house and its surroundings for a future attack. Doris Day was beginning to worry about the strange phone calls she was getting from her son. "Mom, strange people are coming to my house," Terry had said one evening. "Musicians, but strange in a different way." "How strange?" Doris had asked. "I don't know. There's this guy named Charles. He keeps coming here. I don't want to turn him away because it's music business, but it's disturbing." Doris's maternal instincts were sounding alarms. "Terry, don't let people you don't know into your house, especially when you're living alone." "I'm not alone, Mom. Candace is here. Friends are around." But Doris's worry wouldn't subside. Something was going wrong, and she could feel it. In April, Manson began demanding a definitive answer from Terry. He was getting impatient about the music deal. "Terry," he had said one night, his eyes colder than ever, "I don't like waiting. Are you ready to make music or not?" Terry was now scared, but tried not to show it. "Charlie, the music industry is complex. These things take time." "Time," said Manson, not raising his voice, but in a threatening tone. "Terry, you don't understand me. I'm not just a musician. I'm something else." That night after Manson left, Terry locked the door twice. By the end of May, Terry had decided he would no longer work with Manson. His music wasn't that special, and the man was acting increasingly strange. Terry's final meeting with Manson took place at the house on 10,050 Cielo Drive. When Terry told him there would be no music deal, Manson's reaction was terrifying. "Terry," said Manson with smiling but icy eyes, "living in this house suited you so well, it would be bad to disturb this peace." Terry hadn't understood what he meant, but the threat in his tone was very clear. "Charlie, this is music business. Don't take it personal." "I don't take anything personal," said Manson as he stood up. "But I won't forget this house, this peaceful place." As he left, he looked back and added, "This house is perfect, perfect for perfect plans." In June, Terry decided he no longer wanted to live in that house. Manson's last visit had really scared him. He called Doris. "Mom, I'm changing houses." "Why?" "You love that house so much." "There's a man. He's bothering me. He came from music business, but he has strange behaviors." Doris's heart began beating rapidly. "Terry, did this man threaten you?" "Not directly, but I have a bad feeling. Moving would be better." Terry moved out of the house in July. 10,050 Cielo Drive was left empty, a house to be rented. In August, the house found new tenants, Roman Polanski and his pregnant wife, Sharon Tate, Hollywood's young, bright couple. Sharon was 26 years old, at the peak of her career. Even when Terry heard he had moved, he was worried. "I hope that Manson guy doesn't come there anymore," he had told Doris. But Manson would come. And this time, not for music. On the night of August 9th, 1969, Terry was sleeping in his new house in Malibu. Around 2 a.m., the phone rang. "Terry! Terry! Are you awake?" His friend's voice was in panic. "What's happening?" "Your old house. 10,500 Cielo Drive. Something happened. Police are everywhere." Terry felt like his heart would stop. "What do you mean something happened?" "Murder. Sharon Tate. And others. Something horrible happened." Terry dropped the phone. His hands were trembling. That house. His house. If he hadn't moved. The next morning, Doris learned the news from television. Sharon Tate and 4 others had been brutally murdered at 10,050 Cielo Drive. Doris couldn't make the connection at first, until Terry called and told her the whole story. "Mom," said Terry, sobbing, "this was my house. My old house. If I hadn't moved—" Doris's world shook. Her son could have been in that house. He could have been a victim of those murders. "Terry, what are you saying?" "That Charles guy, Manson, he kept asking about the house, talking about energy, about plans. Could he have done this?" Doris realized at that moment that her son's life had come face to face with death. As days passed, the connection between Charles Manson and his family to the murders began to emerge. Terry's fears were being confirmed. Police called Terry in for questioning. He told in detail about his relationship with Manson, the visits to the house, the last meetings. "Mr. Melcher," said the detective, "why do you think Manson targeted that house?" Terry knew the answer, but it was horrifying to say. "He knew I lived in that house. I had rejected him. Maybe he was trying to get revenge, but I wasn't there anymore." This meant that Sharon Tate and the others were victims of revenge intended for Terry Melcher. Doris had to watch her son try to live with this reality. Terry felt responsible for Sharon Tate's death. "Mom, she died because of me," Terry would say in nightly phone calls. "If I had rejected Manson from the beginning—" "Terry, this isn't your fault," Doris would repeat. But she was asking herself the same questions inside. Even after Manson's arrest, the fear continued. There was the possibility that family members were still outside, that they could take revenge. Doris was experiencing real fear for the first time in her life. She knew she could lose her son, that Hollywood's dark side could find them. In the Manson trial, Terry became an important witness. He told the court about his relationship with Manson, the meetings at the house, the threatening behavior. Manson smiled as he looked at Terry in the courtroom, that cold, calculating smile, as if saying, "I haven't forgotten you." Doris went to court to watch her son testify in this case. When she saw Manson, thinking that this man had tried to kill her son, made it hard for her to breathe. In his testimony, Terry had said, "Manson saw my house as if it were his own house. In our last meeting, he said, 'I won't forget this house.' Now, I understand that this was more than a threat." Even after Manson and his family received prison sentences, Terry's trauma continued. His role in Sharon Tate's death would follow him for years. Doris did everything she could to help her son heal. Therapy, long vacations, staying away from his music career. "Terry, you're not guilty at all," she would say. "You met a monster and you escaped from him. You're not guilty because others couldn't escape." But Terry's answer was always the same. "Mom, if I had rejected him from the beginning, maybe Sharon would still be alive." This event also deeply affected Doris Day. America's sweetheart had come face to face with real evil for the first time. Her son's life had been in danger and she couldn't have prevented it. Looking at Doris's photos from this period, it's possible to see the fear in her eyes. Those bright, smiling eyes were now more cautious, more frightened. "No one can be trusted," she had said in an interview. "You can never know what's behind people." Hollywood's innocence had ended for Doris. When Terry Melcher died in 2004, the Manson events were still following him. Even on his deathbed, he was asking, "Did Sharon's family forgive me?" In the only interview Doris gave after losing her son, she said, "Terry dedicated his life to what happened that night. He never forgave himself." I couldn't forgive myself either for not being able to save him from this pain. That horrific event in 1969 destroyed not only Sharon Tate and the other victims, but also Terry Melcher and consequently Doris Day. When Charles Manson died in prison in 2017, the scars he left remained forever in Terry Melcher's and Doris Day's lives. When Doris Day died in 2019, she was still thinking about that night on her deathbed. Could I have saved Terry? She was asking. This story isn't just about a mother's fear. It's the story of how Hollywood's dark side can reach even the most innocent hearts. That house at 10,050 Cielo Drive is now a normal house where other people live. But the traces of that night will remain forever, both there and in Doris Day's heart. The damage Charles Manson inflicted on America wasn't limited to just the people he killed. He also destroyed survivors like Terry Melcher and mothers like Doris Day. America's sweetheart didn't smile as much in her final years because she knew that evil could turn even the most beautiful dreams into reality. And this time, this nightmare was her son's life.